From ABC, this is a special edition of World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. In the Middle East today, the U.S. used fighters and fighter bombers. The Iraqis used Scud missiles and oil. The U.S. High Command says there have been more attacks on Iraq and Kuwait in the last 24 hours than on any other day since the war began. As for the Iraqis, they have opened a pipeline, and according to the U.S., are pouring millions of gallons of oil straight into the Persian Gulf. They have also successfully attacked Saudi Arabia and Israel again with their missiles. We begin with ABC's Dean Reynolds, who's in Tel Aviv.
There was a frightening duel in the sky over Israel tonight. Patriot missile interceptors creasing the darkness in search of Scuds, and turning one shock from Iraq into so many shafts of light. But some of the Scuds were only deflected. When 8 to 10 of them fell to earth, they did real damage, both in Tel Aviv and in Haifa. And several of the Patriots found nothing at all, vainly skimming the horizon until crashing back toward the people and property they were supposed to protect. Watch this slow, arcing Patriot scour the clouds for a target before suddenly dropping like a rock on Tel Aviv. The Army explanation was not reassuring to Israelis.
Sometimes a Patriot missile may run into the wrong place, or even as a result of some technical error, it should go down into the earth.
The Army said it was too early to say whether the Scuds or the errant Patriots did most of the damage. On the ground, there was bedlam. Houses were blasted, cars set ablaze, people bloodied.
The bombs, the big bombs. All my body is moving.
Most of the roofs are damaged. Everything in the house is broken.
Authorities say one person was killed and at least 60 injured. And as dogs search for anyone still missing tonight, Israelis were asking a straightforward question. Israeli officials say they are balancing two competing considerations as they weigh their response to Iraq. How much this country can gain from its policy of restraint versus the need to address the growing concerns for public safety. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
Saudi Arabia came under another missile attack as well. One Iraqi Scud was destroyed in the air by a Patriot missile over the Saudi capital, Riyadh, but a second one sheared off part of a 6-story building. One person may have died. An unknown number were injured. In 9 days of war, according to the U.S. High Command, Iraq has now launched 44 Scud missiles, 24 at Saudi Arabia, 20 at Israel. The Pentagon won't give numbers, but it's believed the U.S. has fired at least twice that number of Patriot missiles trying to intercept the Scuds. Which raises the question, will the U.S. run out of Patriots before the Iraqis run out of Scuds? Here's our Pentagon correspondent, Bob Zelnick.
Pentagon officials privately expressed concern that the stock of advanced Patriot missiles is dangerously low. Sources here now place the number of these U.S. Patriots in the theater at less than 500. The first generation of Patriots was designed to destroy attacking aircraft, not missiles. But 5 months ago, anticipating the possibility of war in the Persian Gulf, the Army ordered the contractor, Raytheon, to begin producing the more advanced anti-missile version as soon as possible. According to industry sources, Raytheon has been producing the new Patriots at the rate of 100 to 200 per month. But sources here say the arithmetic of war now favors Iraq, which is believed to have between 350 and 1,000 Scud missiles facing those 500 Patriots. And 2 Patriots are often fired at a single incoming Scud. But Iraq has relatively few mobile launches left for its Scuds, so the U.S. priority remains finding and destroying them. Once the launchers are gone, all the Scuds in the Iraqi arsenal will be of little use. Bob Zelnick, ABC News at the Pentagon.
Once again, the U.S. has accused Iraq of mindlessly using oil as a weapon. It says the Iraqis have opened a pipeline and are dumping oil into the Persian Gulf at the rate of more than 4 million gallons a day. On the potential effect, here's ABC's Ned Potter.
The oil was so thick it gurgled as it washed onto the Gulf shoreline. It coated seabirds, sent fumes high into the air, and provoked angry words from the president about Saddam Hussein.
Now he resorts to enormous environmental damage, but in terms of turning loose a lot of oil, no military advantage to him whatsoever in this. It's not going to help him at all, absolutely not.
The Pentagon said the crude oil was apparently being released from an export terminal off the Kuwaiti coast. It had mostly spread toward the Saudi shoreline from there, carried by local currents.
This is clearly an act of environmental terrorism, and it's likely to be more than a dozen times bigger than the Alaska oil spill at Valdez.
Military sources say oil on the shoreline would not greatly hamper a ground assault because oil spills are hard to set on fire and most troops would likely land by helicopter or hovercraft. But heavy equipment like tanks might be hampered. The Pentagon said it's already at work on ways around the problem. Environmentalists and pollution experts had other concerns in mind. The Sierra Club, for instance, said the dumping could destroy the Gulf for decades, limiting fishing and the food supply. And if it spread far enough down the Gulf, the oil could clog desalination plants that supply most of the region's drinking water.
This is a situation where the spillage is intentional, deliberate, and as a result, it could continue for as long as the hostilities continue. As a result, it has the potential for becoming one of the most severe environmental disasters in history.
Late today, an oil spill cleanup firm in Texas confirmed it has received a call from the Saudi government for help in clearing its beaches. Ned Potter, ABC News, Washington.
Still in the Middle East, 4 more attacks today apparently related to the war. In the Greek capital Athens, bombs went off at 3 banks, 2 U.S. and 1 British, and at the home of the French military attaché. There was some damage. No one was hurt. The State Department has added India to the list of countries where it thinks